shooting an evil spider train with a rocket launcher just wasn't cool enough. So I decided to add a cult that kidnaps people and feeds them to Charles. Until now, when you'd explore the open world map on your train and do missions, the only enemy hunting you was Charles. And in the last few devlogs, you guys have been suggesting that I add more enemies, so that is exactly what I did. And I knew that this would be a cool feature to add, and you guys are just gonna need to stick around to the end of the video to see how they turned out. First thing to do was make a new character in Fuse, get some animations for him from Mixamo, and then import him into Unreal. Dude looks like he's a cokehead from an 80s rock band. Look at this. Man looks like he's got unhealthy relationships with multiple women. As well as programming this new enemy, later on in this video I'm also going to make an entire mission that makes use of these guys, so stick around for that. Next thing I did was give him this sweet mask to hide his hideous face. And so with that, our fearsome cokehead is looking significantly more threatening. Also, just look at the size comparison between him and Charles. Like, I did not realize that Charles is so freaking big. Next, I added a simple patrolling system and tried to make it so that they could shoot at you, but instead they just started doing like friggin' Fortnite dances. And so I made it so they could actually shoot at you and possibly at each other. A little foreshadowing for later. And then I added a little bit of knockback as well, but just a little bit, because, you know, it'd be weird if they could just shoot you across the entire map. That wouldn't make any sense now, would it? After toning down the knockback and making it so they can see you, chase you, and shoot at you until you either die or hide somewhere, I started testing them out in, like, really large swarms. And this is where things started to get a lot more complicated. In my last video, when I programmed the AI for Charles, it was a lot easier in this way because there's only one AI. But when you have a bunch of the same kind of AI, they bump into each other, they overlap, they all go in this single file line, and it just looks really, really cheap. I ended up getting kind of stuck here, so I ended up taking a break from that, and while I was thinking of some strategies of how I could fix that problem, I started working on making it so that you could also attack them back. So the first step in making them capable of death is making a ragdoll. Playing around with these ragdolls and slapping these dead bodies around it's mildly entertaining, not gonna lie. One problem that I had with these ragdolls though is that they were like way too floppy and ragdollish, and at some points their hands would just fall off. It's like on roller coasters where they tell you to keep your hands inside the ride at all times. It's like, this guy didn't do that. So I spent about 4 hours tweaking settings, making new ragdolls, and I eventually settled on one that had some pretty realistic joint movement and stiffness. So now the deaths actually look a little bit more like somebody dying and less like a goat simulator NPC. Fun fact, you can blow up their dead bodies. You just kinda play around with them a little bit here. Yeah. Please don't demonetize this video. It's okay. They're really bad people. They're cultists. They do coke and stuff. It's fine. So after adding the feature of human rights violations to the game, I returned to like the crowd programming. Just the whole issue of them bunching up and overlapping each other, just being all weird. And so to fix this, I made it so that each NPC will randomize their speed, as well as that they slightly randomize the location that they're trying to go to, and I used Unreal Engine's built-in crowd AI simulation so that they avoid running into each other and will slightly avoid and walk around each other. So I was making a lot of progress, and I thought that at this point I could just start working on making the mission for them. But then all of a sudden, they decided to start going all friendly fire and start shooting each other and killing each other. I didn't even know that they could do that. Like, the thing about AI is they do things that you didn't tell them to do. On top of that, some of them were convinced that they could fly. They would just start leaping and jumping off each other's dead bodies. All these issues ended up being very confusing, and I spent hours trying to fix them, and I couldn't. So I moved on to a different thing and came back to those a little bit later. So I made a couple new masks and a bunch of different clothing texture variations so that, you know, they're not all the exact same person. So after some time away from that friendly fire bug, I came back to it with a fresh mindset and was able to fix it pretty easily by just adjusting some of the collision settings, and then it all worked pretty well. So with all of that squared away and the AI cultist basically complete, it was time to start working on this mission. So without spoiling the story or the lore of the game too much, I decided to make this mission take place in a super old abandoned mine. The cult has been protecting something inside the mine, and you get a key from an NPC that unlocks the mine. So your goal is to sneak into the mine, avoid the cultists, and then steal whatever strange object they might be hiding down there. You'll see what that is in just a little bit. So I spent a few days designing and building out these mine sections and made it a house for the NPC that would give you the key. And I made the NPC infuse, retextured it, and got some animations and then put her in the game. I did have a slight issue with this NPC though. You see, I made her arms too short, so the sitting animation that I applied to her had her arms just like hovering above her lap. And so rather than taking the time to like remake the NPC or edit the animation, I just decided to give her a pet rock. So I posted a picture of this on Twitter, and for some reason, a news site wrote an article about this, the genius pet rock in Choo Charles. I guess it was a slow news day, but regardless, Rocky is enjoying his newfound fame. So I programmed the mission pretty easily thanks to an NPC and mission system that I programmed for the game a few months ago. And it is now time to show you the fantastic new mission. Really quick though, before I show that, I do have a couple quick announcements to make. Firstly, the game is not going to be releasing in Q1 of 2022. 3 months ago when I announced the game, I knew that it would be really ambitious to try to complete an open world game on my own in 6 months. But like I've said, I'm not going to release the game if it's not done and if it's not good. I think the game is about halfway done now, and it'll probably take an additional 2 to 3 months after the game is done to prepare for launch. So I think I can still release it this year, but I'm very hesitant to confirm anything. So I'm sorry it had to get delayed, but I would much rather do that than pull a Battlefield 2042 on you guys. But on a brighter side, I have another announcement, and that is that Choo Charles broke our goal of hitting the top 50 most wishlisted games on Steam, and is currently number 46. So to celebrate, here are a bunch of Steam keys for the game. Whoever activates each code first will have the game automatically added to their Steam library, and although you won't be able to download it yet because it's not done, you will have it as soon as the game releases later on at some point. So if you haven't already, be sure to go to Steam and add Choo Charles to your wishlist, because once we hit the top 35, I'm gonna give away some more keys. That's all for the announcements. Gameplay time. Be sure to wishlist Choo Charles on Steam. It's totally free, and you can I'm making a horror game where you fight an evil spider train named Charles. But there are a lot of things about the game that I haven't told you. Over the past 4 videos in this series, I've told you all about how Choo Charles is an open world horror game where you navigate an island in an old train, upgrading over time by looting and completing missions, and eventually attempt to kill Charles. But you all have been really curious about some of the more specific details, so let me get straight into answering some of those questions. Can you make a chicken? Okay, I don't even know what you guys mean by that question. It honestly doesn't make sense to me, but whatever. Why is there a couch blockading your doorway? Okay, if you're talking about my casual doorstop, I don't know what to tell you. It's a doorstop. Everybody has them. You guys keep asking about it though, so maybe I'll explain how doors work to you after I get through some of these more serious questions. Have you heard of today's sponsor, NordVPN? Have you considered adding multiplayer? This is like the most asked question that I get ever, and unfortunately I can't. The game is designed and programmed for single player only, and since it's already like halfway done, trying to add multiplayer to this single player game, it would be like trying to take a motorcycle and turn it into an 8-seater van. Like, it's just, they're different things. It's not going to be multiplayer. It's just going to be a single player game. Will the game have DLC later after it launches? Maybe. I don't have any plans for DLC, but it could happen. How are you doing, man? You doing all right? That's good. Love the content, my dude. Have a great day. Go pet your cat. My cat is dead, actually. Oh, and by the way, on that happy note, I'm going to be hiding some Steam keys for the game throughout this video, so just keep an eye out. Can you add a feature where Charles will run on the rails? I was actually planning on doing this originally, but in the AI video, when I was working on putting everything together, I just realized it's way more complicated than it sounds, so I just scrapped it. What is the name of Charles the train, and what vehicle is he? How much will the game cost when it's released? I'm not 100% sure yet, but as it's continued to develop, I'm probably going to end up pricing it around $15 to $20, probably somewhere in that range. What was your inspiration for making the game? Money. Fat stacks of cash. Are we going to be able to color our train, or is it just yellow? You might be able to, I don't know. It's been requested a lot, so if I have time, I might add that. How many missions will there be? Right now, I'm aiming to start with 20 missions. There's going to be 3 required missions, 3 missions to get the different weapons, and then a bunch of scattered side missions that you can complete just to get scraps. Will there be collectibles and secrets? Yes, lots. Are there going to be boss battles and missions? No, the only boss is Charles. That's it. Are you boarding up your door to stop Charles from coming in? Another one of these. It's a door stop. I'll get to that later, okay? If you're driving on the tracks and Charles is coming towards you and you run into him, what happens? Right now, you just clip through him and then he starts running behind you. It's not game breaking or anything, and I don't have any plans to change it yet, but if it's heavily requested that it gets changed later on, maybe I will. And the only reason that I'm not really worried about it is just because it doesn't happen that often. Are you going to implement jump scares? Not exactly. Basically, if you randomly go around a corner and Charles just happens to be there, then I guess you got jump scared, but there's no scripted jump scares. Will there be cutscenes, and is there any kind of ending message for the players? There's not really anything in the way of cutscenes where the camera is actually taken over and goes all cinematic mode or anything like that, and I'm not entirely sure what the ending is going to be like quite yet, so we'll get back to you on that. Are you using Unreal Engine 5 for Choo Charles? No, I'm using Unreal Engine 4. I have made some Unreal Engine 5 tutorials though, because Unreal Engine 4 and 5 are really similar, but I'm using Unreal Engine 4 for Choo Charles. Why does the door barricade keep getting bigger? Who are you hiding from? How many war crimes did you commit? 3, but that has nothing to do with my doorstop. After Choo Charles is done, are you going to take a break or move on to some other project? Once it's done and published, I'm probably going to need to continue supporting it for at least a few months with updates and bug fixes and stuff like that. But after it's, things have settled down, I'll probably take a little bit of a break and then eventually move on to working on some more games. I don't know what yet, but something. Do you like Bingus or Floppa better? I don't know much about these meme cats, but Bingus seems pretty cool. I love some of the face concept art that you showed off in your first devlog. Will there be an option to potentially change how Charles' face looks? Kind of, yeah. I actually did a small sort of collaboration with Mr. Moist Critical, Penguin Zero himself. He's a big YouTuber, you've probably heard of him. So he actually gave me the go-ahead to put his face on Charles, since his name is Charles, so we can have the real Choo Charles. So there's an option in the game. You hit F12, and then you click a button that says Activate Moist, and then you can fight Choo Charles White. Who are you trying to keep out of your house, and do you climb in and out through the window? It's just a doorstop. How long is the game going to be? I think if you were speedrunning and you were really, really good at it, it's probably going to be possible to beat it in like under a half hour. But if you're doing a more casual, normal playthrough, I'm guessing probably around 3-4 hours. And if you're trying to 100% the game, find all the secrets, all the missions, all that stuff, it could probably be as much as 6, 7, 8, 10. I don't really know yet. Are you going to add original music composed specifically for the game? Yes, later on in development, not right now. Okay, don't message me right now if you're a musician. I'm not going to respond. Just saying, I'm not looking for a musician right now. But later on in development, I am going to find somebody to do music for the game. How fast is Charles? You know, Charles is actually very, very proud of his speed. He's been training to compete against the great Usain Bolt. So I'm just gonna let him answer that question himself.
I'm fast as fuck, boy.
Speaking of fast stuff, let's do a quick lightning round here. Do you plan on adding the ability to punt children? No. Does Charles give good hugs? No. A feature where you can join the cult? No. Give Charles a mustache? No. Can you put hot dogs in the game? No. Yes. No. Wait. Is it at all possible to kill Charles? Yes, that's the entire point of the game. So Charles can't eat soup? No. Can I pet the demon train? No, you cannot. Can we romance Charles? The holy cupcake? No. You cannot. All right, end of lightning. We're cutting it off there. Will there be any personal firearms that we can use to defend against the cultists? No, the only way currently to defend against cultists or any threat is with the guns on the train. I'm probably not going to add any like first-person weapons that you carry around. I'd love to know how you feel about developing the game. Is it hard for you sometimes? What is your current stress level programming? The game isn't particularly difficult to make from a programming and technical standpoint. Like, I'm not trying to do anything super crazy and out there. Like, so I know everything is technically possible to do, and so that part isn't that difficult. The biggest thing is just the large time commitment. Like, it's gonna take a lot of time to get it done. So that part's a little bit daunting, but you know, just keep on plugging away and eventually it'll get done. I really want to know what's with the barricade on your door. It just gets crazier every time. I said I was going to answer these questions later, okay? I mean, I feel like I've mentioned it before. It's not that crazy. Like, it's pretty casual, small. It's pretty discreet. Are you going to do a really intricate storyline for the game? I wonder how much world building there will be. It's not really intricate, like it's not FNAF levels of intricate, but there is some lore and backstory that can be uncovered by completing different missions and hunting the map for various secrets. Are you right or left-handed? I don't know why this matters, but I am right-handed. Have you ever thought of making mobile games, or maybe make a mobile build for the Funny Train game? I've made mobile games in the past that were really bad, and I'm not gonna make any more mobile games anytime soon, just because the market is super saturated and incredibly competitive. And so partially because of that, and also just because I'm working on a pretty large-ish scale, you know, open world game, I just don't really feel like I probably have the expertise to make that available for mobile. Can you add broken rails that have to be repaired for you to continue on your train? Maybe something similar to this. I've considered making it so that there's sometimes random debris on the track that you have to get out and clear, otherwise your train will get damaged when you run over it, but it's not a feature that I have any immediate plans of adding. Maybe something later on if I've got time. With all this attention you're getting, will you be able to live up to the hype? Aren't you afraid your game will outgrow you in scope? This is something that I was originally a little bit scared of, but I think everything will probably be okay. A big goal in making videos like these is just to make sure that everybody has a realistic expectation of what this game is. I mean, like, it's not the next Cyberpunk, it's not the next Skyrim, it's an indie horror game. Like, it's not that spectacular. There is a spider train, which is pretty freaking epic, but it's not some crazy technical achievement that's going to advance humanity into the next steps of evolution or something. Gavin, question. Do you like pizza with pineapple? The whole pineapple on pizza thing, it's a conspiracy, I swear. The pineapple industry is out here trying to convince you that it's good with pizza, because how else, when the heck else do you eat pineapple? Do you just eat pineapple out of a can, or you just go and pick pineapples out of it? It's a conspiracy. They're trying to trick you. How long did it take you to become a game developer? Did you do it right after college, or has working with computers as a hobby helped you more as a programmer? So I started making games when I was 12, which was about 8 years ago. I have not gone to college, and I've basically just taught myself through Google. Like, if you can make a Google search, then you can program a video game. It's not that complicated. Where's the game going to be available to play? It's definitely going to be available for PC on Steam, possibly on Mac, possibly on console. Nothing's confirmed. Those are just other platforms that I would like to be able to port the game to in the future. If I do port to those various platforms, it's probably going to be after the PC launch, but maybe, not confirming anything, but maybe. What's up with your door? Who or what are you? Okay, if anybody else asks this question, I will get a freaking chicken and I will send it to your house and it will break in through your door because you don't have a casual doorstop. It'll peck your freaking eyes out. There should be hints around the map that tell something about Charles and his past. Yes, there are. There's a lot of stuff like that, so hunt carefully. Charles? Yeah? Will you add phases to Charles, like when he's at half health, he'll turn scarier and get more moves? Dance moves? Yes, absolutely. Charles loves to boogie down and no, okay, possibly. I'm not entirely sure, but I think there will be some different phases and different attacks that he'll get as his health goes lower. Not entirely sure what those will be, how complicated they'll be. Maybe he gets a jump ability. Maybe he just gets stronger and faster. I'm not entirely sure yet. Will there be merch? Yes, there definitely will. I'm currently working with some people to get some stuff coordinated for when the game launches. That's about all I'm gonna say for right now, but yes, there's some cool stuff that we're working on. Is there gonna be a day and night cycle in the game? Nope, it's always night. What are you trying to keep out of? Okay, I'm getting the chicken, I swear. How difficult is it adding new features to the game now compared to when you started? Every feature you add to a game makes it exponentially more difficult to program. So in the beginning, it's really easy adding features. You can add stuff in like a couple days and it's like, yeah, it's fine, it works. But then once you've got like 10 mechanics and you need, you know, all these new features to interact with all these other mechanics and everything needs to work in unison, it gets way more complicated. So that's why I'm keeping all the mechanics simple. Choo Choo Charles versus Goku, who wins? Choo Choo Charles, obviously. You didn't even need to ask. Do you sustain yourself only with YouTube and game dev? Also, has any publisher approached you for Choo Choo Charles? Yes, I make all of my, well, most of my money comes from YouTube and from Udemy. A very small fraction of my income right now actually comes from game sales, which would be from like my previous game, My Beautiful Paper Smile. And yes, I've had probably at least 100 offers from publishers. It's kind of ridiculous. How's life outside of working on the game, and what do you do when you're not working on it? I work on the game, I sleep, and I watch YouTube. Occasionally I eat as well. I want to know when you're going to upload your next amazing devlog. Oh, wow. Amazing. Quite honestly, I don't really know. That's partially why I'm making this Q&A video. Basically, I'm at the point in development where I've added all of the main mechanics. And at this point, all I really need to do is add a bunch of missions, do bug fixing and other really boring stuff. And basically none of the rest of development is going to be that interesting for devlog. So I'm not entirely sure what kind of content I'm going to be making about it. I'll figure out something, but I don't know what, and I don't know when. Will you release a demo for Choo Choo Charles? Originally, I really wanted to, but I have since decided against it, and I am not going to have any kind of demo. Will there be unlockable achievements and trophies? Yes, there will be quite a few. I'm thinking you'll probably get an achievement every time that you complete a mission, as well as for various random secrets and puzzles that you find around the map. Is there an actual main quest line, or is it all side quests? So there are 3 main missions that you need to complete to actually beat the game, but all the other missions are just optional side quests, basically, that you can do to get more scraps, new weapons, and discover more about the story and lore of the game. Why you locked door? Okay, fine. We'll go and address this. All right, you guys have been asking for it. Y'all are gonna feel so dumb when I show you how boring this is. Like I was saying, it's incredibly boring. If I just grab my wrench here, nothing crazy, no defrauding of the IRS. And then, as you'll see, when I open up my very normal door, you'll see very normal everything. Do you guys feel like fools yet? Alright, so before I go to the last and probably the most important and most interesting question that I've gotten, I want to remind you that you can wishlist Choo Choo Charles on Steam right now. It's currently the 40th most wishlisted game on all of Steam, and we're trying to get to number 35 right now, because once we get to number 35, I'm gonna give away a bunch more Steam keys for the game. And also, be sure to subscribe to the channel. It helps out a lot. Charles freaking loves it. I love big numbers, so I would love you forever. And so now, without further ado, I present to you the most intellectually advanced question that I got, and the most interesting answer you'll probably ever hear.
How much cheese